Welcome back to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates. Of course, viewers, you are noticing a little bit of a change of location, and that's because we are at the Patriotic Front's office here at the Port Mall, level 3 in the Port Mall, where we'll be chatting with their Tobago East candidate in the form of Mr. Wade Caruth. All right, so, not wasting any time and getting on straight into it. Good morning and welcome to you, Mr. Caruth. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Nice to be here with you and Tobago Updates and the Tobago people. I'm feeling very good and I'm happy to be here with you.
All right, great. So you've been out for the past couple of weeks, walking the ground, campaigning and so on. How has that experience been for you?
Actually, it's been really good, The people who see me are very happy to see me. They welcome this fresh change. A lot of people are looking for a third alternative to the usual. And the people who, in areas that I haven't reached as yet, people are calling me like, they want to see me up there. They want to interact with me. Even yesterday, I was at Mariah. Someone invited me to Mariah Moravian Church for their, what they call it, they have a big celebration for Palm Sunday. So they invited me up there as well. I was invited to someone's home for the Harvest Festival, celebration. And, it's been really good so far.
All right, great. So now, as you're going out, what are some of the issues that are being spoken to you about? What are some of the things that are being highlighted that is sort of informing the way that you're going to be approaching being an MP if you are elected?
Absolutely, because we believe in representing the people. So we're hearing from the ground. A lot of people, of course, it's obvious when you go around the villages of Tobago, there are idle youths everywhere. Unfortunately, it's becoming like an epidemic here in Tobago where we are having a lot of our resources, meaning our human resource, not being utilized. So this is one of the main things that I am being addressed with or are being faced with when I go to these villages. So we have to definitely work on youth empowerment, and we have some plans to deal with youth empowerment, specifically around education, skill development, and of course, helping them develop businesses, because we want them to be business owners. As a young man was asking me, telling me he don't want to be on the corner. And I'm like, well, we don't want you to be on the corner, but we need to get you a corner office so that you can have employees that you can develop your skills and help them develop skills as well.
And how do you envision using your position as an MP to do just that?
Well, we want to create policies that makes it easy for the youths to access the resources of the government, because we know the government has resources. We know that there are things available for the youth to access, but for some reason, there's a lot of red tape. There's a lot of bureaucracy involved in it. A lot of these youths, though, have the capability to do the paperwork and to get the COC or to get the bank statement from the bank or to do a business plan on a whole. So this is where we have to develop, of course, information needs to get to them, and we have to help them develop their skills in doing that aspect of it, the paperwork and getting themselves equipped so that they can access what is already there, as well as getting them ready to take it to our next level, let's say. Because some of them have little businesses going, they have little things going, but they need the support to go further.
What do you see as some of the challenges where, the government systems is, where this is concerned in terms of making the ease of doing business better? What are the challenges that you guys are anticipating, and then how do you plan to overcome those challenges?
Well, Tobago has a government culture. I don't want to bash anyone or anything like that, but the hours of operation, if somebody is working 8 to 4, they might not have that ability to get to the office before 2 or to get to a government building before a certain time. So we need to create facilities that they can access these services even after hours, or have an online database where they can start the process there, and it's just a simple thing of maybe dropping in something. So we need to just make it easier for our citizens to access what we have as a government.
All right, so other than business, making the ease of doing business better, what else do you see that is coming up as you're going through the communities and so on, that are things that as an MP you need to be able to address?
Well, definitely. I know a lot of people have been mentioning to me, and it's been one of our pillars from the beginning, land ownership. A lot of Tobagonians are they don't have access to their land in the way that maybe someone else of a different class would have access to their land, where they can access credit and they could utilize their land to actually improve their life. So that's another thing we want to definitely focus on, land ownership. I've been recently lacing with a lot of animal rights people. And honestly, this is something that has been overlooked. I wouldn't say by us, but it's definitely not on the top three. But we need to make it a priority because I mean, I drive around every day, and almost every day I'm going to see a dead dog. Somebody bunks a dog and just leaves it at the side of the road. And this is unfortunately the case because we don't have, well, maybe they have a program for spade and neutering, but we need a nationally funded program because it's still a little expensive for you to take, your patong or, your dog that you just have outside to go and spade and neuter. Nobody is studying that. Unfortunately, these dogs make puppies and they're just all over the place. Some people throw them away. And of course, we're talking about cats, all animals on a whole. And a lot of issues people talk about too is domestic, like sheep and cows. People that have their cows and their sheep roaming. Unfortunately, we need to tighten up on securing your property, securing your asset is in your livestock, as well as, of course, the domestic pets. So that's another issue that keeps coming up. And not to overtalk, but agriculture is definitely an issue that we're seeing a lack in Tobago, where agricultural innovation is concerned and industries that are surrounded agriculture. Not just, you plant a corn, you sell a corn, but we need to develop industries that can create products because every day we're eating cornflakes. So why we can't produce cornflakes right here in Tobago? And that is just one aspect, one product. What about cocoa? Why we don't have a chocolate factory? We could put it somewhere in Dallaford, where the people of Dallaford can be the main stakeholders of that estate, and it will give them a sense of belonging, a sense of pride. And of course, they have shares in that business as well, too. So they will be proud to go to work and they wouldn't slack off because they know that they are sharing in the profits.
All right. Now, before we get, because I do want to break into the agriculture conversation just a little bit, I just want to track back to that of land tenure. Now, of course, this is a perennial problem, and this has spanned several decades, several generations of families here in Tobago are very much affected because it's so difficult to get the titles to their land. Passed on from the time of slavery and so on, and just those things were never regularized.
Yes.
Now, your political leader is Michaela Pandey, of course, as we know, who someone who's very learned in that area.
Yes.
Have you been having those discussions with her as to forming a real plan as to how we could go ahead addressing it? Because, from all the conversations we've had in the past, it's not something easy to do.
Absolutely. Well, this is something we constantly talk about. And as I say, this is actually our number one topic for Tobago. We think if this could be easier for Tobagonians, we will see a different standard of living for Tobagonians. As you say, a lot of them have got their land passed down with no formal documentation or paperwork. So for them to do business in the business world, it keeps them in a bubble. It keeps them trapped.
But how are we doing? What's the approach that the Patriotic Front wants to take when it comes to these matters?
Well, we have to address the policies that are on the books now and create policies that would ease up this issue. My colleague, Arita Clark for Tobago West, she is mentioning that there is something on the books that kind of dates it to, I think it's 1981. And that is where the restriction is. So everyone after that is not having that ease of access to their land. So it is some simple adjusting of policies that could make this an easier process for our Tobagonian potential landowners.
Right. And then, of course, it also feeds into the whole conversation about agriculture, because without land, you can't really do agriculture. How do you plan to make that easier? Bearing in mind that the THA has control over a lot of the land in Tobago that can be used for agriculture purposes. How do you envision, just using your MP role to work along with the THA to make that a little bit more accessible?
Absolutely. Well, we want to work with the THA to free up some of these lands and find viable potential farmers or organizations or cooperatives that can take control of these lands. I mean, as you say, they're sitting there almost idly, and we ain't mining nothing on them, we ain't planting nothing on them, but of course, bush is going to be growing. And bush are no stop, it's just going to keep, it's very well healthy bush. But we need healthy products, we need crops. Tobago has so much medicinal plants, but we are not utilizing that resource. So we need to, if it is, we put down acres of medicinal plants because, the pharmaceutical industry is one of the biggest industries in the world. But Tobago is playing no part in contributing to the pharmaceutical industry worldwide. We can be sending our plants that grow here wild, grow here with ease. We could be sending them to these pharmaceutical companies so that they can develop the same medicine that they're selling right here for us, which is actually hard for us to access somehow. Because a lot of people are talking about ease of medication. They're not accessing medication easily.
How do you think that we could get that part started? What's an easy way, or like how do you plan to break into that market, and of course get people engaged in it?
Yeah, definitely. We just have to look at, you start off looking at 5 products. Let's say 5 crops in the form of medicinals. We just look at 5, we cultivate the 5, we find the best way of packaging the 5, whether it's in a powder form or they want it fresh. However, we find out to the markets what they actually demand and we supply that because we already have the plants, just to find the right way of packaging it and getting it to them.
And how does this align with the Patriotic Front's overall vision for agriculture and so on in the country?
It definitely aligns because we want agriculture to be an export or an income generator for this country. Because Tobago, back in the day, I wasn't around at that time, but I know that Tobago was the breadbasket of the Caribbean. So we want to build on that foundation of being the breadbasket and now not diversify, but innovate that aspect. So now we are not only creating products that people consume, but we are creating products that people interact with. We can do clothing, textile. There's a broad aspect where agriculture is concerned. My background is agribusiness management. So when I see one product, when I see one crop, I see almost 10 products. And I know a lot of our brilliant minds here in Tobago can also help develop or come up with the ideas that can really expand our agricultural industry. And we at the Patriotic Front, we believe firmly, especially in Tobago, firmly that agriculture can be a driving force for this economy.
All right. Well, we're going to stick a pin right there. But viewers, we got to go for a break. But when we come back, we'll continue our conversations with the Patriotic Front's Tobago East candidate. And that's, of course, Mr. Wade Caruth. So don't go anywhere. And welcome back to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates. Viewers, we are continuing our conversation this morning with the Patriotic Front's Tobago East candidate, and that is Mr. Wade Caruth. So we are getting into a lot of the policies and a lot of the things that they are hoping to change or to make better should they be elected into government. So before we went into the break, we were getting into the agriculture conversation just a bit. And we're not yet quite done with that conversation because the truth is there is a whole lot more that can be done when it comes to agriculture, not just in Tobago, but Trinidad and Tobago. And of course, one of the things that Mr. Caruth is very interested in is developing or revitalizing, I should say, the coconut industry.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Well, as we know, I say it was past of our history. I mean, we had slave masters coming here to cultivate acres of coconut, but here we are just cutting it down. If we plant a tree now in the next 5 years, definitely we can be reaping the benefits of that. And we know that there's a lot of idle state land. So we can just designate some areas just for coconut planting. And not just to reap coconut to sell coconut water, but there's a lot of byproducts that come from the coconut. I mean, we can list some of them. There's the coconut jelly, which can be, I mean, I'm not sure if the technology is here yet, but we can turn this into powder, coconut milk powder. That's just one aspect. There's the fiber that comes from the coconut as well, which could be used in a variety of different ways. I mean, just off the bat, it could be used in agriculture for, they call it coconut husk, which is like cocoa fiber. And you plant seeds in it. I mean, that's the whole hydroponic industry is developed based on this coconut plant. Because that product, that's sold all over the world. Coconut husk, just for agricultural purposes. And the list goes on. There's at least 10 products that could come from coconut alone. That's one plant alone, right?
So, and this is a national policy that the Patriotic Front wants to implement.
Definitely, and especially specifically in Tobago, because we know that we have a lack in opportunities for our young people. So we want to create opportunities where they can tap into the economy. because there's going to be a lot of down industries that develop from this one coconut production. We're going to need, transporters. We're going to need people who are skilled in the different areas of turning these things into products. And of course, there has to be an investment in machinery as well, so that these things are possible. So it is definitely a policy that we are targeting to Tobago and will be developing in Trinidad as well.
What other aspects of the agriculture industry do you see the Patriotic Front having a hand in making better?
Well, not to jump over agriculture, but ecotourism is something that needs to be tapped into. Tourism is not just, you stay in a fancy hotel. A lot of people are looking for that authentic experience. One of my childhood experiences was going to the States and picking apples and cherries on a farm. And to this day, that memory stuck with me. I will never forget that. And I still look forward to going back and just doing that again. And a lot of people, a lot of foreigners who live in these landlocked places, they have never even seen the beach or a sunset. They want to be able to go and pick a pawpaw from a tree. Some of them don't want to see these things growing. So we can create this type of ecotourism. I know there are some players in the game right now that are tapping into that, but we can do that as a national product. We can, let's say, we can enhance the people that are already doing it, as well as empower the people that are thinking about doing it, that might have the land space, might have the resources, but they know they don't have the support. And from a government standpoint, this is something we should be targeting. Ecotourism is just one aspect. There are a lot of aspects of tourism that we want to focus on. Sports tourism, ecotourism. There are many aspects of tourism that's not just stay in a hotel and cock up your foot and watch TV. A lot of people want to experience Tobago, and we need to market Tobago.
Now, as you mentioned sports tourism, you're also someone with a sports background. How do you plan to be able to increase the level of sports tourism that we have? I mean, we've had over the last 2 years, we've had a few international tournaments and so on. But how do we get that on a greater scale? Or how do we even get people to different teams to be able to come and use our facilities here?
Right.
To,
Well, they hit the nail on the head. Facilities. We need to develop capable facilities or international standard facilities that would invite people to come here. Some people might be afraid to come here to play football because they might put their foot in a pothole, or there's some of these fields are not so up to standard. So a lot of people might shy away from playing or in coming here to play sports in that area. Basketball courts. I mean, there's a lot of basketball, and I have seen, kudos to the THA, that I see them developing these basketball courts. But I mean, it's greatly welcomed. But at the same time, it has to be paired with the right trainers, the right coaches, the right after court facilities, whether it's, the massage therapists. We need to make sure that our athletes here are taken care of and that they can now compete on the international stage. Support our athletes. We have a lot of talented athletes in Tobago, and there are a lot of talented athletes that have yet tapped into their talent because of the access to these various sports.
Yes, and certainly access to facilities is perhaps the number one complaint of our athletes here in Tobago and even in Trinidad, actually.
Yes.
What are some of the first things that you see that you guys can do to sort of bring some relief where that is concerned? Because even with some of the existing facilities, some of the ones that are managed under central government, and off the bat, we're thinking about, the Dwight York Stadium, and we saw, the back and forth play out on the politics over the past week.
Yeah.
So I want to get your perspective on that.
On the back and forth that's going on with the stadium.
Yes.
I mean, we're tired of political gimmicks, ultimately. I'm not saying it's a political gimmick, but, it would appear to the public as such because it's been sitting there all the time, rotting away after we, the public, have invested millions, I don't want to say billions, but millions of dollars into this. And we were proud to know that we have a stadium here. I know we had the Under-17 World Cup hosted here, but then what happened after that? So, unfortunately, as the public think that these things are political gimmicks, and of course the other side will jump on it and attack it, which is sometimes fair. We need a little criticism. We need to be kept in check. Because sometimes we forget that we are managing the country's resources and that we are responsible to the people. So we cannot keep this culture of politics where it's, we give you this right before election and we're doing this right before election. The people are seeing through it. And I want to say the people are becoming too wise for this type of politics to dominate our land space.
Now, you also touched on the idea that we need to develop the other industries around sports, massage, all the therapy, of course, the coaches. There's actually a whole industry and a whole team of people that goes into making sports formidable.
Absolutely.
Give me an idea of just some of your vision where that's concerned, to make sure that our athletes are best supported so that we could really be some of the top performing sports people in the world.
Yeah, well, we need to make our product attractive, because someone was telling me why we can't get LeBron James to come here and mentor some of our athletes. I mean, would he come here to mentor some of our athletes? He might just offer charity, but it would not be an attractive proposition for him.
Yes.
Because
and it would be costly.
Well, of course, it would be costly to maybe get him. I'll say if he comes basically based on charity. But I would think that he would feel comfortable taking our athletes out there to the courts that are there presently. Well, honestly, I can't think of one court that would be suitable for athletes as the caliber of LeBron James in Trinidad and Tobago. Well, in Tobago. I know Trinidad has some indoor courts and so on, but Tobago has, well, they will say we have one indoor court, but it's not really an indoor court. They put in the puzzle pieces at Shore Park and they turn it into a basketball court. And then the only other indoor court would probably be Scarborough Secondary, which is a half a board. Yes. And Bishops has a little thing as well, too. I'm not sure if they still have it there, but this is why I used to play basketball in Tobago. And me and my friends would go home, well, we used to go Sanctus Hill as well, and we go home with cuts and bruises almost every day. So a lot of our facilities are not attractive for the international mentors or even the international coaches. And I know a lot of coaches have been working with colleges in the States to come down here and scout one or two of our players. And unfortunately, only one or two of our players get out of the space. So we need to make our product attractive, make our athletes top tier in providing them with the support so that they can be a viable asset or a viable option for these college teams, possibly NBA. And that's just basketball. There's swimming, there's lawn tennis, there's even golf. A lot of young, talented golfers are showing interest in that sport, and we can encourage them, give them the right facilities, pair them with able coaches locally, develop our coaches locally, give them the skills, the training necessary so that they can be recognized internationally. And holistically, it would aid in us developing a better sports product.
Certainly. And then what are some of the other policies, now moving away from sport, but what are some of the other policies that you see that is really, really important for Tobago's development?
Well, I've been in conversation with people on the street, people on the ground. A lot of people want to know about women equality, gender equality, and so on like that. So we have looking into some policies that would kind of level the playing field where women rights are concerned. I know men have their rights as well too, but of course our women have been neglected and have been, left in this colonized idea that you stay in the kitchen, which they do. I mean, they cook really well. Kudos to our women. They maintain homes. They do all the good things, but we need to make sure that the economics is balanced. So another one, in addition to our land tenure, in addition to our youth empowerment programs and policies and our agricultural innovation, we are looking at gender equality. Well, we are a humanitarian party, so we want to make sure that holistically everybody can enjoy the same quality of life.
And then, of course, we're in a period now where our economy is in a little bit of uncertain times, especially with the failure of the Dragon Gas deal that was expected to bring some, at least to start for us to see some progress in 2027, but that's no longer happening and so on. What are your views on that? And then should the Patriotic Front be elected? how can we start to, reinvigorate our economy again?
Okay. Well, since we're on the energy, we can definitely bring back some of our energy industries. And I know even steel and some of these things. And we have a lot of natural minerals here as well that we can tap into. But though the dragon gas deal might be dead at the moment, we have a lot of other fields that we can tap into. So it's just a matter of pivoting to, because I know there's some oil fields off the coast of Tobago, even off the coast of Trinidad, that we can tap into that are in our waters that are not necessarily in conflict with the United States or the world policy holders. And of course, we are going to re-engage the United States and see how best we can, because they are the international bodies that control the thing. So we definitely want to have a conversation with them so that we can be in the clear and we can have the okay to go ahead and export our oil and our gas and energy products.
All right, great. I want to thank you so much, Mr. Caruth, for having this conversation with me this morning and for sharing some of your heart and desires when it comes to how you see your role as an MP fitting into the Tobago space and the national space. All right, viewers, well, we got to go for a break, and we'll be right back just after this.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you coming into the office. As you see, we have a nice office here, so feel free to stop by anytime.
No problem. All right, viewers, just after this.